The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. It was bigger than any space station humans had ever built, stretching nearly 50 kilometers from end to end. The ship looked like a floating city made of silver metal and glowing lights. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship called Defiance. She watched the alien vessel through the main screen. Her crew worked quietly at their stations behind her. Everyone knew this was the most important day in human history. "They're sending us a message," said Lieutenant Park, the communications officer. "It's coming through on multiple frequencies." "Put it through," Sarah said. A deep voice filled the bridge. The words were in perfect English, though something about the tone sounded strange. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet. We are representatives of the Galactic Federation. We come in peace to welcome you into our great community of civilized worlds." Sarah looked at her crew. They had been preparing for this moment for months. Earth's deep space sensors had detected the approaching ship weeks ago. Every government on Earth had worked together to decide how to respond. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she replied. "We welcome peaceful contact with your people. We request permission to meet with your leaders," the alien voice continued. "We have much to discuss about your planet's future." Sarah knew the plan. Earth's leaders had decided to meet the aliens halfway between Earth and Mars. It would show that humans were cautious but not afraid. "We agree to meet," Sarah said. "But the meeting will take place in neutral space. We'll send you the coordinates." There was a pause. Sarah could almost feel the surprise from the alien ship. Most species probably invited them to land right away. "Very well," the voice finally said. "We will meet you there in 3 days." The next 3 days passed quickly. Sarah's ship traveled to the meeting point along with 2 other Earth vessels. The human fleet looked small compared to the massive Federation ship, but Sarah felt proud of them anyway. Earth ships were sleek and fast, built with the best technology humanity could create. When the Federation ship arrived at the meeting point, it launched a smaller vessel toward the human ships. This shuttle was still huge by human standards, but it only carried the alien diplomats. Sarah watched as the alien shuttle docked with her ship. She had chosen her best people for this meeting. Dr. Lisa Wong was Earth's top linguist and cultural expert. Colonel James Miller represented Earth's military interests. Ambassador Patricia Romano spoke for all the world's governments. The airlock opened, and the first aliens walked onto a human ship. Ambassador Veltar was 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His large black eyes studied everything around him. Behind him came 3 other aliens from different species. One looked like a giant insect, another had scales like a lizard, and the third seemed to be made of living metal. "Welcome aboard," Sarah said, extending her hand. Veltar looked at her hand for a moment before reaching out with one of his 4 arms to shake it. "Thank you, Captain Chen. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zentarian Empire. We represent the Galactic Federation Council." His voice was the same one they had heard on the radio, deep and formal. Sarah led the group to the ship's main conference room. The aliens looked around with interest, but she noticed something in their expressions. They seemed surprised by what they saw. The human technology was more advanced than they had expected. "Please sit down," Sarah said. The aliens took seats around the large table. Dr. Wong activated a translation device, though the aliens seemed to understand English perfectly. Ambassador Veltar opened what looked like a glowing tablet. "Captain Chen, we are here to offer your species something wonderful. For over 50,000 years, the Galactic Federation has brought peace and prosperity to worlds across the galaxy. We have helped countless species reach their full potential." "Tell us more about this federation," Ambassador Romano said. "The Federation currently includes over 12,000 member worlds," Veltar explained. "When a species joins us, they receive access to all our technology and knowledge. We provide protection from hostile forces and help with any problems they might face. In return, member worlds contribute their resources and follow Federation law." Colonel Miller leaned forward. "What kind of contributions are we talking about?" The insect-like alien spoke up. Its voice sounded like clicking sounds, but the translation device turned it into words. "New member worlds provide raw materials, food supplies, and military personnel. Your planet would be assigned production quotas based on your capabilities." "Production quotas?" Sarah asked. "Yes," Veltar said. "Each world specializes in what they do best. Some worlds focus on mining, others on agriculture or manufacturing. The Federation decides what each planet should produce." Sarah exchanged glances with her team. This wasn't sounding like the partnership the aliens had described. What about our government? Ambassador Romano asked. Would Earth keep its independence? The metal alien answered this time. Its voice was like the sound of grinding gears. All member worlds follow Federation law. Local customs are allowed as long as they don't conflict with Federation regulations. A Federation governor would be assigned to help manage your planet's transition. A governor? Sarah said. You mean someone who would rule our world? Not rule, Veltar said quickly. Guide. Help you understand your new responsibilities as Federation citizens. Dr. Wong had been quiet, but now she spoke up. What happens to species that choose not to join the Federation? The aliens looked at each other. Finally, Veltar answered. In 50,000 years, no intelligent species has ever refused Federation membership. The benefits are obvious to any reasonable people. But what if they did refuse? Sarah pressed. The Federation has a duty to protect all intelligent life, the insect alien said. Sometimes protection requires intervention for a species' own good. The room fell silent. Sarah understood what they were really saying. Join willingly or be forced to join. We need time to consider your offer, Sarah said finally. Ambassador Veltar looked surprised again. Time? Most species are eager to join immediately once they understand the benefits. Humans like to think things through, Sarah replied calmly. We'll need to discuss this with our world leaders and our people. How much time do you need? Veltar asked. We'll contact you when we're ready to give you an answer, Sarah said. The aliens spent another hour describing Federation technology and showing holographic images of member worlds. Everything looked clean and peaceful, but also somehow empty. The cities all looked similar, and the people seemed to dress and act the same way. Finally, the meeting ended. The aliens returned to their ship, clearly confused by the human response. They had expected immediate acceptance, not careful consideration. After the aliens left, Sarah gathered her team in private. Well, she asked. What do you think? They're not offering partnership, Colonel Miller said. They're offering slavery with better technology. Dr. Wong nodded. Did you notice how all their member worlds look the same? They don't preserve cultures, they replace them. Ambassador Romano was quiet for a moment. The governments of Earth won't accept this. We didn't fight for centuries to build free societies just to hand them over to alien rulers. Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Federation was waiting for humanity's answer. They probably thought it was just a matter of time before Earth begged to join. They were about to learn that humans could be very surprising. 3 weeks passed without any word from Earth. Ambassador Veltar paced around his private quarters on the Federation ship. In all his years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered anything like this. Species always said yes immediately. They begged to join the Federation. Sir? His assistant clicked through the door communicator. The humans are finally sending a response. Veltar hurried to the communication center. Captain Chen's face appeared on the main screen. Ambassador Veltar, she said politely. Earth's leaders have considered your offer carefully. We would like to continue discussions, but we think it would be helpful if you could visit our planet directly. You could see our civilization for yourself. Veltar felt relief wash over him. Of course, the humans wanted to continue talks. That would be acceptable, Captain Chen. When can we arrange this visit? You may bring a delegation of 20 individuals to Earth, Sarah said. They will be given full tours of our major cities and facilities. However, we do require that all Federation technology be declared and monitored during the visit. Monitored? Veltar asked. No species had ever demanded to monitor Federation equipment. For security purposes, Sarah explained calmly. I'm sure you understand. We'll provide the same transparency about our own technology. Veltar agreed, though something about the humans' confidence bothered him. Most species were intimidated by Federation power. These humans acted like they were negotiating between equals. 2 days later, a small Federation shuttle landed at the spaceport in Geneva. Veltar led a team of diplomats, scientists, and cultural experts. Dr. Kira Sol, the Federation's top technology specialist, came along to study human developments. The moment they stepped off the shuttle, the Federation team knew something was wrong with their assumptions about Earth. The spaceport itself was more advanced than most Federation facilities. The buildings seemed to float in the air, supported by some kind of energy field. Clean energy flowed through visible conduits in the walls. powering everything with no apparent waste. "Welcome to Earth," said Director Helen Park, their human guide. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but she carried herself with quiet authority. "I hope you'll enjoy your visit to our world." As they traveled from the spaceport into Geneva, Dr. Saul quietly scanned everything with her handheld devices. The readings confused her. Human technology operated on principles she didn't recognize. Their computers processed information faster than Federation quantum systems. Their transportation used some form of localized gravity manipulation. "How long has your species been capable of spaceflight?" Veltar asked Director Park. "We've had the capability to leave our solar system for about 200 years, she replied, "though we've chosen to focus on developing our home system first." Dr. Saul looked up from her scanner, startled. 200 years was nothing in galactic terms. Most species took thousands of years to develop advanced technology. The city of Geneva amazed the Federation delegation. Buildings floated at different heights, connected by energy bridges. Parks and gardens grew on every level, with trees and flowers somehow thriving in the open air despite the altitude. The people looked healthy and happy, but more importantly, they looked different from each other. The Federation had expected a unified world culture, but humans seem to have maintained their diversity. "Your cities are quite advanced," Veltar admitted as they rode in a silent transport vehicle, "though I notice your population density is lower than most civilized worlds." "We prefer not to overcrowd our cities," Director Park explained. "Quality of life is important to us. We have other cities floating above the oceans and some built underground. We've learned to use space efficiently without sacrificing comfort." At the European Technology Center, the Federation team saw things that made Dr. Saul's instruments go crazy. Humans had developed fusion reactors small enough to power individual buildings. Their manufacturing used molecular assembly, building products atom by atom with zero waste. Most shocking of all, their computer networks seemed to be partially organic, using some form of biological processing that Dr. Saul couldn't understand. "May we examine some of your technology more closely?" Dr. Saul asked a human scientist named Dr. Martinez. "Of course," Dr. Martinez smiled. "We're always happy to share knowledge with fellow scientists. Though I should mention that some of our facilities require special clearance to visit." That night, Dr. Saul tried to access more detailed scans of human technology. She used a small probe device to examine the hotel room systems while the humans thought she was sleeping. The probe immediately triggered some kind of silent alarm. A gentle knock came at her door. Dr. Saul opened it to find Director Park standing in the hallway with 2 human security officers. "Dr. Saul," Director Park said kindly, "we detected some unauthorized scanning activity. I'm afraid we'll have to ask you to surrender any surveillance equipment you brought." Dr. Saul's face flushed with embarrassment. Her sophisticated Federation spy gear had been detected instantly. "I was just curious about your technology," she said weakly. "Of course you were," Director Park smiled. "But we did agree that all technology would be declared, remember? Don't worry, you'll get everything back when you leave Earth." The next day, the Federation delegation visited a human military base. Admiral Marcus Torres met them at the entrance. He was a large man with gray hair and scars on his hands that suggested he had seen combat. "Welcome to Terra Defense Command," he said. "We thought you might be interested in seeing how we protect our world." The base looked peaceful enough, but Dr. Saul's remaining instruments detected massive energy signatures underground. Whatever weapons the humans had, they were powerful enough to register through solid rock. "Your defenses seem quite sophisticated," Veltar observed. "We've learned from studying other civilizations," Admiral Torres replied. "We've been monitoring Federation communications for quite some time. Very educational." Veltar felt a chill run through him. "Monitoring our communications?" "Public broadcasts only, of course," Admiral Torres assured him. "But you can learn a lot about a civilization from how they communicate with their member worlds. We've been particularly interested in your expansion methods." During lunch, Veltar decided to be direct. "Admiral Torres, the Federation offers your species incredible opportunities. Advanced technology, protection, membership in a galactic community. Why haven't your leaders accepted our offer?" Admiral Torres set down his cup and looked at Veltar seriously. "Because we've seen what Federation membership really means. We've studied your history, Ambassador. We know what happens to member worlds. But what do you mean?" Veltar asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. You absorb civilizations, Admiral Torres said quietly. You take away their independence, their culture, their right to choose their own path. You turn every world into the same thing. That's not civilization, Ambassador. That's conquest with better marketing. The Federation brings peace and prosperity, Veltar protested. The Federation brings control, Admiral Torres replied. There's a difference. That evening, the Federation delegation gathered in their hotel to discuss what they had seen. Everyone was confused and worried. Their technology is far more advanced than our initial scan suggested, Dr. Saul reported. In some areas, they appear to have surpassed Federation capabilities. How is that possible? Asked the insect diplomat. They're a young species with no outside help. That might be exactly why they're so advanced, Veltar said thoughtfully. They developed everything themselves. They weren't given Federation technology that they had to adapt to. They created their own path. The metal diplomat's voice ground out words of concern. If they refuse to join and they have this level of technology, they could influence other member worlds. Some species might start questioning their Federation membership. Veltar knew that was the real danger. The Federation's power came from the belief that it was the only path to advanced civilization. If one species could refuse and thrive independently, others might try the same thing. We need to convince them to join willingly, Veltar decided. If that fails, the Council will have to consider other options. As the Federation team prepared for sleep, none of them noticed the small human devices monitoring their conversations. Earth's intelligence services were very interested in what the aliens really thought about human independence. The next morning would bring new revelations about just how prepared humanity really was. The news spread through the Federation faster than anyone expected. Within days of the delegation's return from Earth, every member world knew that the humans had refused Federation membership. For 50,000 years, no species had ever said no to the Federation. Now, suddenly, everyone was talking about the strange humans who thought they were strong enough to stand alone. On the Federation capital world of Nexus Prime, emergency meetings began immediately. Chancellor Zorex called together the High Council in their massive crystal chamber. Representatives from thousands of worlds filled the floating seats that circled the center platform. Fellow beings, Chancellor Zorex announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. We face a situation that threatens the very foundation of our peaceful galaxy. The humans of Earth have rejected our generous offer of membership. Worried murmurs filled the chamber. Many representatives had never heard of such a thing happening. Ambassador Veltar stood to give his report. The humans possess technology that rivals our own in many areas. They claim to have developed it independently over just 200 years. More concerning, they seem to have studied our methods and decided they want no part of Federation civilization. How advanced are they? Asked Representative Korth from the mining worlds. Dr. Saul activated a holographic display showing her scans of human technology. Their energy systems are more efficient than ours. Their computers are faster. Their materials science has achieved things we thought impossible. Most troubling, they've apparently been monitoring our communications across the galaxy for decades. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. The idea that a non-member species had been watching the Federation secretly was terrifying to many representatives. Order, Chancellor Zorex commanded. The question before us is simple. What do we do about these humans? Representative Yala from the agricultural world spoke first. Perhaps we should respect their choice. If they wish to remain independent, why not let them? Because independence is a disease, shouted Representative Thex from the industrial systems. If one world can refuse us, others will think they can do the same. Our entire civilization depends on unity and cooperation. More arguments broke out across the chamber. Some representatives seemed intrigued by the idea of independence, while others were terrified of what might happen if the Federation's authority was questioned. Chancellor Zorex raised his hand for silence. There is another concern, he said gravely. Our intelligence services report unusual activity in several member systems. Some worlds are asking questions about their membership agreements for the first time in centuries. The chamber fell silent. This was worse than anyone had imagined. The Regellian Collective has requested copies of their original membership documents, continued the Chancellor. The Vegan Republic wants to renegotiate their resource quotas. 3 systems have asked about the possibility of reduced Federation oversight. Representative Korth stood up, looking worried. Are they planning to leave the Federation? Not yet, Chancellor Zorex replied. But the human example is inspiring dangerous thoughts. Some of our members are starting to remember what independence felt like. Ambassador Veltar felt sick as he listened to the reports. He had spent his whole life believing that the Federation brought peace and prosperity to the galaxy. Now he wondered if it had just brought control and conformity. "What do the humans want from us?" asked Representative Yala. "They proposed an alternative," Veltar said reluctantly. "They suggested a mutual defense and trade agreement between equals. They're willing to share some technology in exchange for what they called galactic citizenship without submission." The chamber exploded in outrage. Representatives shouted that such a thing was impossible, that the Federation didn't make deals with non-members, that accepting the human proposal would mean the end of Federation authority. Chancellor Zorax waited for the noise to die down. "The humans clearly don't understand how galactic civilization works. They've been isolated too long. We must help them see reason." "And if they refuse?" Representative Thex asked. The Chancellor's expression grew cold. "Then we must protect them from their own poor judgment. The Federation has a duty to preserve peace and order in the galaxy. Sometimes that requires difficult decisions." Within hours of the council meeting, Federation military commanders received their orders. 3 full battle fleets would travel to the human solar system. The first fleet, commanded by Admiral Kazak, would lead the operation. The 3rd and 7th fleets would provide support. It was the largest military force the Federation had ever assembled for a single operation. Over 3,000 ships carrying weapons powerful enough to devastate entire worlds. The message would be clear: join willingly or be forced to join. Meanwhile, on Earth, human leaders watched Federation fleet movements through their deep space monitoring systems. Dr. Elena Vasquez, head of Earth's defensive systems, stood in the underground command center beneath Geneva. "They're definitely coming," she reported to the assembled world leaders on the main screen. 3 fleets, approximately 3,000 ships total. President Chen of the Pacific Alliance looked worried. "Can we defend against that many ships?" "We've been preparing for this possibility for 2 centuries, Dr. Vasquez replied calmly. "Ever since we first detected Federation signals and realized what kind of civilization we were dealing with." Prime Minister Singh of the European Federation leaned forward. "What exactly have we been preparing?" Dr. Vasquez smiled slightly. "Remember, we've been studying Federation technology from their own broadcasts for decades. We know how their ships work, how their weapons function, how their shields operate. They've never encountered technology developed independently of their influence." "That doesn't answer the question," President Santos of the American Republic said firmly. "Can we win?" "We don't need to win," Dr. Vasquez explained. "We just need to demonstrate that attacking us would be more costly than leaving us alone. Sometimes the best victory is making your enemy realize that fighting you is a bad idea." General Park, head of the Global Defense Force, activated a holographic display of the solar system. "Our defensive grid has been in place for 50 years. Every planet, every major asteroid, every space station is protected. We have weapons platforms they can't detect and shield technology they don't understand." "What about casualties?" asked President Chen. "If we do this right, there won't be any," Dr. Vasquez said. "On either side. We're not trying to destroy the Federation. We're trying to teach them that some civilizations choose a different path." The world leaders voted quickly. Earth would defend itself, but with the goal of ending the conflict with minimal violence. The Federation fleets were still weeks away, but preparations began immediately. Across the Federation, news of the military buildup caused more unrest. Some member worlds openly questioned whether force was the right approach. The Rigelian Collective formally requested that their ships be excluded from the operation. When the request was denied, they began filing legal challenges to their membership agreements. Chancellor Zorax found himself dealing with the worst crisis in Federation history, all because one small world had said no. In his private office, he stared at reports of human technology and wondered if the Federation had finally encountered a species they couldn't absorb. The thought terrified him. The Federation's power depended on the belief that resistance was impossible. 3 weeks later, Admiral Kazak's fleet reached the edge of human space. The Admiral expected to find a desperate civilization ready to surrender. Instead, he found humans calmly waiting for him. "This is Admiral Kazak of the Federation First Fleet," he broadcast toward Earth. "You are ordered to surrender immediately and accept Federation membership. Resistance will be considered an act of aggression against the galactic community. Captain Chen's response came back quickly. This is Captain Sarah Chen speaking for the independent world of Earth. We do not recognize your authority over our system. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. Admiral Kazak almost laughed. One world defying the might of the entire Federation. You have 1 hour to reconsider, he announced. After that, we will take whatever action is necessary to restore order. The hour passed in silence. Then Admiral Kazak gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships prepare to attack. Target their major cities and military installations. Make it quick and decisive. But as the Federation fleet moved forward, they discovered that the humans had been planning for this moment for 200 years, and they were about to learn that sometimes the smaller opponent has advantages the larger one never imagined. Admiral Kazak stood on the bridge of the Federation flagship Destiny, watching his fleet move into attack formation. 3,000 ships spread across space in perfect order. It was the most beautiful and terrifying display of power in galactic history. All weapon systems ready. Admiral, reported his tactical officer. Target the major population centers first, Kazak ordered. A quick strike will minimize casualties and convince them to surrender. The Admiral felt confident. He had commanded Federation fleets for over 40 years. He had brought dozens of worlds into the Federation through military action. The pattern was always the same. A show of overwhelming force followed by quick surrender and grateful acceptance of Federation protection. Sir, called out the sensor operator, I'm detecting some unusual readings from the inner solar system. What kind of readings? Kazak asked. Energy signatures that don't match anything in our databases. They're coming from everywhere. Every planet, every moon, even the asteroid belt. Kazak frowned. That was impossible. His intelligence reports showed that humans only had a few dozen military installations. Put it on the main screen, he ordered. The holographic display showed the human solar system in detail. As they watched, thousands of energy sources came online throughout the system. Weapons platforms materialized around every planet and major asteroid. Ships appeared from behind moons and inside asteroid clouds where they had been completely hidden. How many ships are they hiding? The tactical officer asked in disbelief. Over 800 confirmed contacts, the sensor operator replied. But sir, these aren't showing up as ships exactly. The energy patterns are different from anything we've seen. Admiral Kazak felt his first moment of doubt. 800 ships was still far fewer than 3,000. But the humans had clearly been preparing for this battle much longer than anyone realized. Sir, incoming transmission from the human fleet, the communications officer announced. Put it through, Kazak said. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen. She stood in what looked like a military command center, calm and professional. Admiral Kazak, she said. I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, Director of Earth Defense Systems. Your fleet is currently surrounded and targeted by our defensive grid. I strongly recommend you reconsider your actions. Kazak almost laughed. Dr. Vasquez, you have 800 ships against 3,000. Your mathematics need improvement. Admiral, Dr. Vasquez replied with a slight smile. You're thinking in terms of old technology. We don't need more ships. We just need better ones. Are you threatening us, Doctor? Not at all, she said calmly. I'm trying to prevent unnecessary violence. Your weapons will not function properly in this system. Your shields are vulnerable to disruption. Your ship systems can be compromised from a distance. We've had 200 years to study Federation technology and develop countermeasures. Admiral Kazak cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. She's bluffing. Begin the attack. Target their capital cities. Yes, sir. Charging plasma cannons. But as the weapons officer tried to power up the ship's main guns, alarm signals began flashing across his console. Sir, I'm getting feedback in the plasma containment system. The magnetic fields keep fluctuating. What do you mean, fluctuating? It's like something is interfering with our quantum targeting computers. The plasma won't hold stable long enough to fire. Similar reports came in from across the fleet. Ships were experiencing system malfunctions they had never seen before. Weapons wouldn't charge properly. Targeting systems gave impossible readings. Shield generators kept switching frequencies randomly. Engineering report, Kazak demanded. Sir, we're detecting some kind of field manipulation affecting our core systems. It's not an attack exactly, more like interference. Our technology is being disrupted at the quantum level. Dr. Vasquez's voice came through the communication system again, though no one had opened a channel. Admiral Kazak, your weapons have been temporarily disabled through localized field manipulations. No permanent damage has been done to your ships. Your crews are perfectly safe. However, you are now completely defenseless. Admiral Kazak stared at his tactical display in shock. Every Federation ship showed the same status. Weapons offline, shields unstable, engines running, but navigation systems compromised. How is this possible? He whispered. We studied your technology for decades, Dr. Vasquez continued. Federation ships all use the same basic designs, the same operating principles. You've standardized everything across thousands of worlds. That standardization is your weakness. Once we understood how your systems work, developing countermeasures was straightforward. The Admiral felt sick. His mighty fleet had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. What do you want? He asked. We want you to leave our system and return to Federation space with a message, Dr. Vasquez replied. Tell your leaders that some civilizations choose independence. We're not your enemies, but we won't be your subjects either. You can't hold us here forever, Admiral Kazak said desperately. We're not holding you, Admiral. Your ships are fully functional for travel. You just can't hurt anyone while you're in our space. As soon as you leave the solar system, all interference will stop, and your weapons will function normally again. To prove her point, the human defensive systems powered up to full strength. Energy readings spiked across the solar system as thousands of weapons platforms came online. The power levels were unlike anything in Federation records. We could destroy your entire fleet within minutes if we wanted to, Dr. Vasquez said matter-of-factly. But we don't want to. We just want you to understand that attacking us is pointless. Admiral Kazak looked around his bridge. His officers stared at their useless consoles in disbelief. The most powerful fleet in galactic history had been defeated without firing a shot. How did you develop this technology? He asked. By thinking differently than the Federation, Dr. Vasquez explained. The Federation absorbs other civilizations and forces them to use Federation technology. Everyone ends up with the same capabilities, the same limitations. Humans developed our technology independently. We found different solutions to the same problems. Your technology is superior to ours, the Admiral admitted reluctantly. In some ways, yes. In other ways, no. The difference is diversity, Admiral. When every civilization follows the same path, innovation stops. When civilizations develop independently, they discover new possibilities. A new voice came through the communication system. It was Captain Sarah Chen. Admiral Kazak, we're prepared to offer you and your fleet safe passage out of our system. We'll even provide navigational assistance if needed. But we want something in return. What do you want? We want you to take a message back to the Federation Council. Earth is willing to establish diplomatic relations with any civilization that respects our independence. We're willing to share some of our technology through trade agreements, but we will never submit to Federation authority. Admiral Kazak closed his eyes and tried to think. His mission had been to force human submission through overwhelming military power. Instead, he had discovered that humans possessed technology that could neutralize Federation forces completely. And if the Federation refuses your offer? He asked. Then we'll defend ourselves as necessary, Captain Chen replied. But Admiral, consider this. We've just demonstrated that we can disable your entire fleet without harming anyone. We could have destroyed you, but we chose not to. Doesn't that suggest we might be the kind of civilization the galaxy needs? For the first time in his military career, Admiral Kazak found himself questioning Federation policy. These humans had shown mercy when they could have shown strength. They offered cooperation when they could have demanded submission. I'll deliver your message, he said finally. Thank you, Admiral. Safe travels. As the Federation fleet began its long journey back to Nexus Prime, Admiral Kazak wondered what would happen when the Council learned that their greatest military force had been defeated by a single independent world. Behind them, the human defensive grid powered down to standby mode. But everyone knew that Earth was now permanently changed in galactic politics. The humans had proven that the Federation was not invincible. More importantly, they had proven that there was another way to build a civilization. The news of Admiral Kazak's defeat reached Nexus Prime 3 weeks later. The Federation capital world erupted in chaos as reports spread that the mighty First Fleet had been neutralized without firing a single shot. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Federation had been forced to retreat from a military engagement. Chancellor Zorex called an emergency session of the High Council. The massive crystal chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy, all demanding answers. How had one primitive world defeated the Federation's greatest military force? Citizens of the Federation, Chancellor Zorex began, his voice shaking with barely controlled anger. We face the gravest crisis in our history. The humans have used treachery and unknown weapons to defeat our peacekeeping mission. But his words fell flat. Representatives had already heard Admiral Kazak's full report. The humans hadn't used treachery. They had simply developed better technology and used it defensively. Representative Yala from the agricultural worlds stood up. Chancellor, the Admiral's report clearly states that the humans offered safe passage and diplomatic relations. How is that treachery? They defied Federation authority. Zorex shouted. No world has the right to refuse our guidance. But what if they do have that right? Asked Representative Korth quietly. What if we've been wrong all this time? The chamber fell silent. Speaking such words was almost treason in Federation space. Then Representative Thek stood up, his mechanical voice grinding out words of support for the Chancellor. Order must be maintained. If we allow one world to defy us, chaos will follow. But as he spoke, other voices joined the debate. Representatives who had been silent for centuries suddenly found their courage. Perhaps chaos is better than this rigid control, said a representative. From the outer rim worlds, my people barely remember what freedom felt like, added another from the core. Systems. Chancellor Zorex watched in horror as the foundation of Federation unity began to crack. The human example was spreading like a virus, infecting member worlds with dangerous ideas about independence. Meanwhile, on Earth, human leaders watched the Federation's internal crisis with interest but no satisfaction. They had never wanted to destroy the Federation, just to remain free from it. Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's chief diplomat, stood before the World Assembly in Geneva. Behind her, holographic displays showed real-time intelligence reports from across Federation space. The Federation is experiencing civil unrest in over 200 systems, she reported. Some member worlds are demanding renegotiation of their membership terms. Others are asking about the legal process for leaving the Federation entirely. President Chen leaned forward. Are any of them actually declaring independence? Not yet, Dr. Kim replied. But the Rigelian Collective has formally requested a meeting with Earth representatives. They want to discuss our proposal for an alternative galactic organization. Prime Minister Singh looked thoughtful. The Free Worlds Alliance that we suggested to the Federation? Exactly. A voluntary association of independent worlds that share technology and resources without surrendering sovereignty. General Park activated another display showing ship movements in nearby systems. We're also detecting unauthorized departures from several Federation worlds. Small groups of ships heading toward our space. It looks like some species are voting with their engines. How do we handle this? Asked President Santos. We never intended to become the center of a galactic revolution. Dr. Kim smiled slightly. We handle it the same way we handled the Federation. We offer cooperation between equals. No demands, no ultimatums, just an alternative model for how civilizations can work together. 3 months later, the first official diplomatic mission from the Rigelian Collective arrived at Earth. Ambassador Veltar, who had defected from the Federation after witnessing the human encounter, led the delegation. On behalf of the Rigelian people, he announced, we formally request to withdraw from the Galactic Federation and join the Free Worlds Alliance proposed by Earth. Captain Sarah Chen, now promoted to Admiral and serving as Earth's military representative, shook Veltar's hand. We're honored by your request, Ambassador, but I need to be clear about what the Alliance offers and what it doesn't. Please explain, Veltar said. The Free Worlds Alliance is not a replacement for the Federation, Admiral Chen explained. We don't govern member worlds, assign production quotas, or enforce universal laws. Each member civilization remains completely independent. Then what do we gain by joining? Asked one of the Rigelian scientists. Dr. Kim took over the explanation. Mutual defense agreements, technology sharing through voluntary exchange, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. But every agreement is negotiated separately between willing participants. No world is forced to share anything they don't want to share. And if we have disputes with other alliance members, Veltar asked, We have established mediation procedures, Dr. Kim replied, but we don't have the authority to force solutions on anyone. Sometimes civilizations just have to agree to disagree. Ambassador Veltar was quiet for a long moment. This is very different from the Federation model. That's the point, Admiral Chen said. The Federation model creates uniformity through force. The Alliance model encourages diversity through freedom. The Rigelian delegation spent 2 weeks on Earth, studying human society and the proposed alliance structure. They met with representatives from 3 other species that had quietly left Federation space and were considering alliance membership. When they returned to Rigelian space, they carried with them detailed plans for a new kind of galactic civilization. Within days, the Rigelian Collective held a planet-wide vote on leaving the Federation. The vote passed with 87% approval. The Federation's response was swift and predictable. Chancellor Zorex declared the Rigelian vote illegal and ordered military forces to restore order. But when the Federation fleet arrived in Rigelian space, they found Earth Defense Force ships waiting to provide protection. "This is Admiral Torres of the EDF," came the transmission to the Federation commander. "The Rigelian Collective has requested alliance protection during their transition to independence. We are here to ensure they have the freedom to make their own choices." The Federation commander found himself facing the same impossible situation that Admiral Kazak had encountered. Earth's ships were equipped with the same quantum field disruptors that had neutralized the First Fleet. Any attack on the Rigelians would result in another humiliating Federation defeat. After 3 days of tense standoff, the Federation fleet withdrew. Chancellor Zorex was forced to accept that the Rigelians were beyond his reach. Within 6 months, 12 more species had left the Federation to join the Free Worlds Alliance. Each departure weakened the Federation's authority and encouraged others to question their membership. The galaxy began to split along new lines. The old Federation continued to exist, but it was smaller and weaker than before. Its remaining members were either truly loyal to Federation ideals or too afraid to leave. The Free Worlds Alliance grew slowly but steadily, attracting species that valued independence over security. 5 years after first contact, Ambassador Veltar stood in the Alliance Assembly Hall on Earth, watching representatives from 43 different worlds debate trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Each species maintained its own unique culture and government. Some were democracies like Earth, others were monarchies or council-based systems. A few had forms of government that humans couldn't even understand, but they all shared one thing: the belief that civilizations should be free to choose their own path. "Do you ever regret leaving the Federation?" Admiral Chen asked, joining Veltar at the observation window. "Never," Veltar replied. "The Federation gave us order and stability, but it took away our dreams. The Alliance gives us the freedom to discover what we might become." Below them, Earth's floating cities gleamed in the sunlight, while overhead, ships from dozens of worlds came and went freely. It wasn't perfect. Alliance members sometimes had disagreements that couldn't be resolved. Some experiments in cooperation failed completely. A few species tried the Alliance and decided to return to Federation space, but it was alive in a way that the Federation never had been. It was growing and changing and discovering new possibilities every day. In his office at the Federation capital, Chancellor Zorex stared at reports of yet another world requesting to leave Federation membership. The Vegan Republic had just announced that they were tired of Federation mining quotas and wanted to join the Alliance. For 50,000 years, the Federation had believed that their way was the only way to build a galactic civilization. Now they faced the uncomfortable possibility that they had been wrong. The humans had shocked the Federation Council by refusing to share their technology, but that wasn't the real shock. The real shock was that they had proven there was a better way to live among the stars, not through conquest and control, but through cooperation and freedom. As Ambassador Veltar often said in his speeches to new Alliance members, the humans didn't just refuse to join the Federation. They showed us that we didn't have to either. The galaxy would never be the same.